Your eyes up in the morning, beneath the stars so bright. Pull your hat down, make sure your cinch is tight. Horses kinda snuffy, cold chill up your spine. Go get your ass moving, son, we're burning daylight.
Howdy there, I'm Matt McKinley and we're burning daylight.
In the saddle till the job's done right.
Welcome to Burning Daylight, the only podcast for the working cowboy. Well, howdy there, daylight burners. Happy Friday. Happy New Year. 2021 kind of, well, it came in with a bang, and it kind of ended with a bang. All in all, it's a lot of shit happened in 2021, and not much of it good, I guess. I don't know. It depends on how you look at it. I went through and compiled a list of kind of the big news stories by month, and they're mostly national news stories, but I'm going to add in a few here and there from my point of view, what happened in 2021, and just kind of recap this shit show of a year. It was very much a year of COVID again. Get tired of talking about that. I wonder if they said that during the Spanish flu pandemic. There's like, I'll get tired of talking about the flu all the goddamn time. Especially the Spanish people, I'd imagine. I bet they really... Apparently the Spanish flu actually started in Kansas. But like one of the big outbreaks was in Spain. So that's why it got dubbed the Spanish flu. So yeah, Spain kind of got a raw deal on that. Not only did they get a flu from us, but they got blamed for it. But hey, good on us. We dodged a bullet on that one. But yeah, you think back then they ever thought just like, if one more son of a bitch mentions the Spanish flu, I'm just gonna hit him right in the cocksucker. Because that's kind of how I feel it is with COVID right now. It still dominates all the media coverage, even on alternative media, and everybody claims they don't want to talk about it anymore, but yet they still do, and it really is just tiresome. But I don't know. It's an important enough deal that you got to cover it, and it's not so much the disease itself anymore. It's just the response to it, and but that was kind of the same feelings right about this time last year. Except magnified a little bit, seeing how we were still in the midst of a contested presidential election. And only 6 days into the new year, and boy, we had ourselves a storming of the Capitol. We had the QAnon shaman marching around. You had the funny little dude stealing Pelosi's podium. You had the old man with his feet propped up on Pelosi's desk, smoking a stogie, and all the way around, just a very festive ordeal. I mean, a lady did get shot in the face, and then like this is a different one. Now, if you want to talk conspiracy theories on this one, we can talk. But one of the chicks that died was a fat meth head, an obese meth head. I know they're out there, and I may have seen a few here and there, but they are kind of like the white whale, if you will, and so they're kind of tough to spot, and being that they're on meth, they're kind of hard to keep down. They get pretty squirrely even for big fat individuals. But anyhow, we had a fat meth head Trump supporter die. We had Ashley Babbitt, who like a veteran, and I don't know her story. I really haven't done much digging into her. Um, Other than she got shot in the face by Capitol Hill police. Um, the Democrats seized upon it as fodder to call any Trump supporter a white terror or white domestic terror. Yeah, of the above, and it worked pretty well for a while. I'm not gonna lie, there was a lot of people that kind of bought into it. But as the facts bore out and more time went by, it got looking like, well, maybe this wasn't so much an insurrection as they call it, because especially considering they found no weapons at all. And the only person who was shot or died violently really was Ashley Babbitt. There was several Capitol Hill police officers who died of heart attacks or suicide shortly thereafter. So I don't know. It was a bad deal. Don't get me wrong. I should pull that up. I had some good. I had some pretty good little blog posts I wrote on this, because the way the media hyped it up, and just to go back to what actually kind of happened, it really did feel and look like we were right on the verge of civil war. So I photoshopped myself onto a bunch of pictures of the Capitol Hill riot, and then I wrote me a little Civil War diary, and I thought it was pretty funny. Let me see if I can find it. But I kept it going for a little while, and then it kind of petered out. All right, we got a few of them. Well, damn it. Anyhow, I had some pretty good ones, I thought. I don't know. I kind of want to find them and see if they hold up. Civil War Diary, Day 9. Here we go. I'll go ahead and pop it up there for you. And you can read along. All right, so we got Civil War Diary, Day 9, January 14th in the year of our Lord, 20 and not 21. The deposed ginger skin is deposed. Again, Democrats full of bravado, yet alarmingly lacking in strategy. Communication is passed down through the faithful on the need-to-know basis. Speculation to whereabouts of the Pope arise for some reason. Will consult the Almighty for clarification. And then day before, Civil War Diary, Day 8, January 13th, in the day of our Lord, 20 and not 21, it is finished. The delegation of jackasses has vanquished the orange mastodon. In a stunning display of pettiness and faux outrage, the boastful beast of New York has been toppled. Joyous, triumphant shrieks reverberate throughout the cities of the nation, while humble farmers exchange worried glances. The roiling swamp has reached a fever-pitch crescendo, but it will be for naught. The Senate chambers may house some defiance yet. And if you remember way back to the beginning of the year, Donald Trump was impeached over this whole nonsense. And yeah, but then, like his other impeachment, it went nowhere in the Senate. I guess it gained a couple votes this time in the Senate. I don't know. What a shit show that was. The more and more that comes out, like I said, there was no weapons found, and you're looking at the most armed segment of the population, the most what they would view as themselves as patriotic segment of the population that went to overthrow the government, but yet they just left or forgot all their weapons at home. Not a single gun was taken off of one of the rioters. And they made a big stink about this zip tie guy. And I don't know. I've heard stories where he picked those up. They were laying on a desk or something, and he picked them up. But they got a picture of him like hopping over a railing, and he had a bunch of zip ties in his hands. And then there was rumors that trying to kidnap Pelosi. There was also rumors that they had stole Pelosi's desktop or laptop, and what a shit show. But then, like I said, you listen and find out a little bit more of the facts, and well, you find out that they go through the whole impeachment process, and you break it down. And I listened to pretty much every single second of the impeachment process while I was writing things, and it I guess I didn't listen to it in the House. They passed it in the House pretty quickly, but I listened to the trial in the Senate, and they showed in very, very detail the timing of when it was. And while Trump could have definitely done more to call him off, he certainly didn't meet the legal definition of inciting a riot, inciting an insurrection. And so, of course, the impeachment failed. But so anyway, January 6th kicked all of that off. A few days later, Joe Biden gets inaugurated, and we have the first president in modern American history, or well, in American history, not even modern American history, but at least the first documented case of an American president just clapping cheeks in front of the British royalty. So, but that's further down the line. Later on in the month, it was like January 29th is when the game stonks took off. GameStop was being shorted by a bunch of hedge funds, and it was at like $8 a share or something like that. Well, this Reddit forum. So I think you have Reddit.com, and then you have message boards or forums in there called subreddit. So this subreddit called Wall Street Bets uh, mobilizes and somehow convinces like tens of thousands of small time stock investors. Like, just like most of it was being done through Robinhood, the Robinhood app, which where you can buy a single stock at a time, or you can buy $10 worth of a stock or whatever. And basically, they drove the price of GameStop up to at one point like $350 a share or something like that, causing a short squeeze. So meaning that all these hedge funds were in the short position, meaning they're betting on this stock to fail. And so what they do is they borrow money against, or they borrow. It's weird how they do it, but if they stock at a certain price, it dips below $8, then they can sell it at a loss, but they reap all they get. Somehow it works like that. Anyhow, there's only that's a hard one to explain. I'm not. It shows that I don't know stocks very well because I can't explain it very well. But anyhow, as the price went up, they started losing money exponentially, and the major hedge funds lost like $2.8 billion. And all of a sudden, Robinhood stopped allowing people to buy GameStop, only to sell, in order to let these hedge funds close out their positions without any further loss. And it was kind of a neat moment where the little guy finally got one in, and of course the big guys, being what they are, they called in the bigger guns, probably the federal government somehow or another. No, nothing ever was really found out about that. But yeah, they stepped in and helped these big hedge funds minimize their loss. But there, for a very brief while, nerds on Wall Street Bets were just living high on the hog. So right along with that was kind of the reemergence of crypto on like the cryptocurrency national stage. Like Bitcoin's been around for a while, Ethereum's been around for a while, but with all financial uncertainty and inflation, back then was starting to kick in a little bit. Bitcoin shot through the roof, and this basically just based all of a sudden saw astronomical rise in prices, or I don't know if you'd say it's a price in value, because it's a currency, not a not a good. It's a currency. So it rose in value exponentially, and people made a fortune off of that too, as well. So it was a wild month of January, to say the least. February, pretty well was taken up by impeachment. The impeachment trial lasted, I guess, about a week, but all the hullabaloo leading up to it, and they had Washington D.C. fortified like like a military base after that riot on January 6th, and I mean, something like 30,000 National Guard troops got deployed. I mean, it was a tad bit overkill. But in the meantime, Texas experienced one of its coldest winters in quite some time. The big cold freeze, and it pretty well brought the state of Texas to a screeching halt. I think up in the Panhandle they fared okay, but down in the other parts of Texas, the grid kind of took a shit. Everybody's got a big old Ford pickup in Texas, and nobody knows how to fucking drive it in any sort of weather. And sorry to all my Texan listeners. I'm sure there's a few of you that know how, that have been outside of Texas in the snow and the ice a little bit, but for the most part, yeah, it's the South. Nobody knows how to deal with that shit, and boy, they about died there for a minute, it seemed like, but they made it through, and I'll still continue to give them shit for that. But that kind of rounded out March. Not much, or February. Not, like I said, the impeachment really kind of took center stage there. Going to March, and kicked off with right away with just another crisis. We got a blockage in the Suez. If you remember that, there's this big old tanker ship that somehow got wedged in the Suez Canal, Austin Powers styles. They had some really great memes of had a picture of that tanker and this like little bitty crane or a front end loader just trying to push it off the bank. But 6 days it was stuck before they got it loose. And they originally wanted to find that guy, or that particular ship. I don't know, the company, I guess. They wanted to find him $900 million because that was the amount of revenue that was lost going through the Suez Canal. But apparently they knocked it down to $550 million, or maybe they settled into like for an undisclosed number. Anyway, that would be a pretty it'd be a pretty important event, though, later on in the year, because that 6 days worth, you had a huge line there in the Suez of ships. They could either wait their turn, wait for this jackass to get dug out, or they could back up and make their way around the Horn of Africa, and then continue along their way, which is a pretty large detour, I would imagine. I hear Africa's quite a large place, and the Suez is kind of up in the northern part of Africa, on the coast of Egypt. So yeah, it's a pretty big detour. So a lot of them stayed and waited, but there was others that went ahead and made their way down south to Africa, and there's others that were on their way to the Suez and went ahead and diverted, so they didn't have to contend with that mess. But either way, that little snafu cost the global shipping supply, set it back quite a ways. But we didn't really feel that till several months down the line. Then we had the vaccines are everywhere. They're available for whoever wants them, basically. And then the push was on to get needles in arms, baby. Let's go. Let's get to stabbing. And they have not let up on that. Still a huge priority. Get stabbed. Man, then we had the case of the children burritos. Whew. Donald Trump was made out to be the biggest villain on the face of the earth for the kids in the cages down on the border. And, well, it turns out that it didn't change much. In fact, it got worse once Biden took over. And you see a bunch of these little kids, mostly like Guatemalan and Honduran, Central and South American migrant kids, separated from their families, and they're all wrapped up in the little space blankets, look like just little burritos. And yeah, it was awful. And Kamala Harris, vice president, first woman vice president, first black woman vice president, first Indian woman vice president. All hail Kamala. Had a very busy schedule, and she was tasked with taking care of the border, but she just couldn't make it down there yet. More important things to do, but she flew over the border to Guatemala, told him, do not come. Do not make the trip. We will turn you back. Do not come. Great video meme that was made out of that. I'll see if I can find that and post it back up. Just in remembrance. That'll be in March. Yeah. So this might have been like the first look into the buyer's remorse that a lot of people got from Biden, because it was like a kind of a first little pullback of the curtain to see like what are you guys actually doing about this, and you get a bunch of vague platitudes and blaming of Trump and promises to make this thing all right. And but without really ever saying anything. That was kind of one of the behind the curtain. April was a fiery month, mostly in Minnesota though. We got the Derek Chauvin trial going on. And right before that goes on, we got another cop shooting a unarmed black man. And this one, it was a woman cop, Kim Potter, mistakenly pulls her gun when she was trying to pull her taser, and shoots him dead. She was just convicted of manslaughter here the other day. Rightfully so, I think. I really feel bad for that woman, but you can't just mistakenly shoot a guy. So I can't argue with the verdict. But in the meantime, this time they didn't really let Minnesota burn to the ground, but they called in the National Guard. They didn't sequester the jury. And there was like jury members that had to drive through this mass of people protesting and threatening to burn the place to the ground. If the correct verdict wasn't reached, the judge refused to move to a different venue or district, and so the case proceeded as per usual, and no chance at all that the jury was swayed by the mass chaos going on outside the buildings. No chance they were swayed by that. May rolls around, and we got a pipeline attack. A cyber attack shuts down basically the entire East Coast fuel supply. It was a ransomware attack, and the people who perpetrated it got paid. Later on, they said they were sorry about that one. It was they were doing it to expose weaknesses in you know, different companies' cybersecurities, and they did not realize the impact they would have of shutting down the major pipeline that supplies fuel to the East Coast for some reason. They didn't think that was would have real big repercussions. But I suppose, oopsies, huh? And while just when Texas was really hitting their stride, kind of becoming popular with a lot of people, and what might end up being a genius move, I don't know yet. They passed a quite retarded abortion law. So it banned abortions before 6 weeks of pregnancy, or after 6 weeks of pregnancy, and but there's the only enforcement mechanism behind this is for anybody really to sue a doctor or somebody who aided and abetted a woman in getting an abortion after 6 weeks. So it's a tattletale law, and I'd argue not a very well thought out one, but it passed, and as could be expected, there was enormous outrage from the left wing and also from a lot of like moderate type people, and it is. I think it's currently being challenged. Well, it's been challenged several times, and I'm not sure where it is in as far as the federal court system. Then June hit, and this was a weird one too. Like there's this giant condo building just collapsed. It was like almost 100 people died, something like that. And yeah, that was a big story for a while. It was weird, sad deal. Sounds like that building they knew was in bad shape, but nothing was really done about it. And Miami's kind of hopping right now, so people didn't care, I guess. And well, maybe something positive will come out of that. I don't know. But June was kind of when the country felt like maybe it was kind of coming back to normal. Maybe for a little bit, it was getting back to normal. People were out and about. A lot of the COVID mandates, even in some of the more lockdown cities, were starting to lift, and it looked like maybe things were coming back to normal. And then the Delta hit, but it didn't stop Independence Day. Independence Day happened again. Big celebrations everywhere. And America did what America does on the 4th of July. We get drunk, we barbecue, and we shoot shit in the air. And I think that's pretty much what we did. I actually don't recall. But then the Olympics started a year late with no spectators. I don't even think any spectators on the TVs. I don't know if I watched a single event of the Olympics. Heard a whole lot about Simone Biles and how she was either the bravest person on earth or she was the biggest coward on earth and a terrible example for our children. And I could not bring myself to care even one iota about women's gymnastics. I just don't fucking care. So, yeah. And then it turns out Simone Biles would later testify before the Senate, or not, was it before the Senate?
I think so. It's before the Senate, and then also probably in the trial of Larry Nasser, the coach of the U.S. Women's Olympic team, who had repeatedly molested his team over the decades, and hundreds of girls, I think, is what I don't know what the final count was, but horrible person. May he rot in hell. Yeah, so yeah. The big story of that became Simone Biles' state of mental health, and not the fact that not only was this allowed to happen, people had went and told authorities about this. I don't know about police, but like higher ups within the organizations, and nothing was done. A blind eye was turned, and this coach was still celebrated as, you know, this gymnastics guru. All the while he's diddling these very, very young underage girls. So yeah, that wasn't the discussion. It was whether or not Simone Biles should be considered a hero or a villain. Then we had the billionaire cock rocket race off. Elon Musk had already been to space at that point. I don't know if he had personally been to space, but he had sent several rockets up into space. But not to be outdone, Richard Branson and Jeff Bezos. The funny story was Jeff Bezos announced that he was taking his Blue Origin cock rocket up into space, and to one-up him, Richard Branson takes his up into space 9 days before, and pretty good troll. And they both went up into suborbital space, which I guess means they didn't technically go up into space. But Jeff Bezos came down wearing a cowboy hat for some reason. Space cowboy, I guess. Yeah, so I guess that's what you do when you got $100 billion. But good on him, I guess. I wonder how much of our taxpayer money went towards that. I'm sure a significant amount. But that's cool. Then we had the first vaccine mandate, and it was for federal workers and federal contractors. And that was kind of what opened the floodgates. It was from there, it went to New York and LA and Chicago and all over the place. We have vaccine mandates and more push towards them. We've had many challenges from them, mixed results on the challenges in the courts, and in general, an overall fight over that. But that all started, you know, back in March when vaccines were really made available, and the push to get everybody stabbed. August kicked off with a pretty good one. Andrew Cuomo, the Lion of New York. I don't know if that's his nickname. I just made that up. But he was a celebrated governor. His name was being floated to swap out for Joe Biden in the presidential run, because of his steadfast resolve and leadership during the pandemic. So much leadership. He led so well that he had time to write a book about leadership during a global pandemic. I mean, that is talent. Granted, that was probably ghostwritten, and but either way, I'm sure there was a significant amount of time taken to write that book. during the pandemic, when your state has one of the highest mortality rates of the entire country, and but anyway, he resigns over a bunch of sexual assault and misconduct allegations from former staffers, a state police officer who he had moved to his security detail just because he thought she was a fine piece of ass, and that's finally what gets him. Not the tens of thousands of old people who died unnecessarily from COVID because he sent a bunch of COVID positive patients back to nursing homes. The most at-risk category of people there is, that, and then tried to cover it up, but sweep that right under the rug, and we'll get him on some sexual harassment stuff, and make him go away. And that is how that ended. There's been some new stuff about his brother, but will anything come of any of that? Nope. Like I said, the big important part, the fact that he was directly responsible for a bunch of old people dying, yeah, that doesn't get mentioned. So, yeah, nothing will happen there. Well, then, April 15th, the Taliban rolls into Kabul. The Afghan National Security Forces, which we were promised to hold the line for many years to come, especially with all this good weaponry that we sent them. Yeah, in the course of a few months, they ceded control of almost the entire country, including the capital city of Kabul, and making the U.S., Joe Biden, Donald Trump, and everyone involved with the war in Afghanistan look like a bunch of shit turds. And then started the scramble to evacuate several thousand. We didn't really ever know how many exactly, whether it be U.S. citizens, contractors, diplomats, any U.S. personnel, whether NGO workers, all of that. We never really got a good number as to how many Americans were still left in Afghanistan, but it was a giant scramble to try to get them all out. One that would have been made considerably easier had we not given control of Bagram Air Base back to the Afghan National Forces without letting them know, by the way. We pulled out middle of the night. Nobody knew what was going on. And, the Taliban rolled right into there, too, took that over. And so all we had left was Hamid Karzai International Airport, which has one runway. If I remember right, maybe it's two runways, but it's a small airport, and it's like 3 miles from the embassy, and the Taliban controls the streets. It was there is some really incredible stories of guys like Tim Kennedy and Nick Palmisano, and a lot of I think some of them still, I know Kennedy is still maybe reserves or National Guard. And, but most of these guys were either veterans or National Guard, or some of them still active duty, but most of them went on their own dime to to try to get interpreters and kids, and they ended up airlifting like 12,000 people in 10 days or some shit like that. I mean, it was an insane amount of people that got out in a very short amount of time. Afghanistan is fucked. Not like it wasn't already. I mean, it's basically going back to what it was before we got there. And yeah, it wasn't a real pleasant place. But that brought the longest war in American history to an end. And that's a good thing. The pullout, the withdrawal, was complete and utter abysmal failure. I'm just... They could not have fucked it up any better had they tried. Like they wrote the blueprint on how to fuck up a military withdrawal. But at least we're out of that war for now. But that was August 30th, 2021 is when the final U.S. troops were pulled out. Still plenty of Americans left behind. Still an ongoing effort to get a bunch of them out. September, we get kicked off with a couple of pretty interesting stories, juicy stories. We got a Facebook whistleblower, and we got like a young, pretty good-looking Instagram influencer who is on a cross-country vacation with her boyfriend, Gabby Petito. I honestly don't know what she looks like. I really didn't follow this story all that carefully. But there were people who got way into it. The internet did what the internet does, and they were actually able to cross-reference, and somebody was like, hey, I saw that van here the other day. And, well, wouldn't you know, they, using tips from internet sleuths, they were led to, or eventually found the remains of Gabby Petito, and upon the coroner's examination, they determined the cause of death to be strangulation. In the meanwhile, I guess before that, her fiance, boyfriend, I can't remember, he makes it back home to Florida without her. He left her up in Wyoming. And shortly after he returns home, I think he was questioned by the police, and then he goes missing. Shocker. A manhunt is staged, becomes even more national news, and everybody just wants justice for Gabby. That's all we ever wanted, was justice for Gabby. Well, at one point, Dog the Bounty Hunter, for some reason was involved. I don't know if there was a huge reward for finding this guy. He hadn't been charged when he went missing with anything, so it's not like he was skipping bail. So I'm not sure where the dog came into the place and or into the whole picture. But I was real excited about that. Just revamping Dog the Bounty Hunter to the show. I mean, man, that would have been a good one. But Dog sprained his back or something, and he had to bow out for a little bit. But in the meantime, they found O'Brien's remains. That was in October, I guess. So, yeah, it's about a month. Yeah, weird story. But the Facebook whistleblower, equally weird story. So this gal, what was her name? It was like Frances Hogan or something like that. Let me see if I can find it. She came out with this this report about all of Facebook's evils, and of course, she talked about Instagram and how bad it was for mental health for teenage girls, and how Facebook knew that, but they were trying to just tuck it away. Nothing to see here. And of course, in what I think a lot of people saw coming, her response was that they were just not censoring enough. And so, yeah, it was the lamest whistleblower of all time. What was her? I think it was Frances Haugen. Frances Haugen. Dun, 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 dun. Yeah, Frances Haugen. She's intense looking. She is something. Yeah. Intense eyes. Yeah, so it was pretty lame. Lame whistleblower. Not much, I think, that we didn't know. I don't know. It was anything ever going to come of it? Probably not. We also had Haitians under a bridge. For some reason, there was like 10,000 Haitian refugees under a bridge. I think it was at Laredo, Texas. That was the famous picture of Border Patrol, horseback, swinging his reins around at these Haitian migrants who were crossing the river. Made a big stink. Joe Biden disallowed the use of horses on the border, and yeah. I still have yet to figure out why. I mean, I guess part of it had to do with the Haitian president getting assassinated, which was that 2021 or was that 2020? I can't remember. That, if you remember that story, that was a weird one as well. It was the president was assassinated by a group of people that, a couple of them even being American citizens. It was strange. If you'll excuse me, I'm going to have to finish this up another time. I've been having a little bit of stomach issues here lately, so I'm going to have to go take care of business. But that's going to do it for the live portion, and I will come back later and finish off the rest of this year after I take a nice poop. So, stay tuned.